Congratulations on your film.
Thank you. Thank you so much, David.
Such a fun film to watch, and I know that it's probably not typically thought of as a fun subject, but the energy that you found and the sparks of resistance and humanity and in some cases humor was really remarkable. I think you did a wonderful job, and I just fell in love with all those kids.
Yeah, they were amazing. It was crazy to meet them and to have the opportunity to run after them, actually.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure. They're just, it was so fun to watch them. And, we've read so much about Navalny's movement and the people who have supported him, but never have I seen anything that showed us really the energy that propelled his rise in politics in 2018, I guess it was. And really the force of a new Russia almost that's just roiling there right underneath the surface. It was a remarkable and important perspective to get. We know you can jail and absurdly even try to assassinate Navalny himself, but you cannot extinguish what you so brilliantly captured in the film is the energy of hope and forward thinking and forward looking, and it was really remarkable. It reminded me, and this is why I really wanted to talk to you, it reminded me of the films that came out of AIDS activism in the early part of the pandemic, in the early 1980s. The kind of youthful energy that produced such incredible documents and documentaries about a time and a place and a movement that was really unseen and almost unseeable, except for the images captured by the people doing it themselves. And the kind of guerrilla aspect to the filmmaking was matched by the guerrilla aspect to the movement itself. And often, it has broken narratives in it where you're about to learn something, but we couldn't be there to learn it, and we pick it up and learn it later, and just kind of that discontinuity was so kind of exciting and thrilling to experience it on the screen. Those rare images of people just standing up for themselves. It was a joy to see it and a joy to meet those people. So thank you for that. I wonder how you knew them. How did you meet them yourself?
How did I meet them? Actually, you probably heard that all this movement started in 2017, when Navalny announced that he will campaign for the presidential election.
Right.
And he motivated a lot of people in Russia to go to take the streets, and there was a huge protest movement all through 2017. It was first against corruption of the elite, because Navalny made a lot of films, kind of investigations, documentaries about the corruption of different deputies or former Prime Minister Medvedev, for example, who used to be the president of Russia as well. And it was crazy when it started, because I was working as a freelance journalist, and I went to the first protest actions, and there was a crowd of people, and I wasn't used to that in Russia, because the last time was about 10 years ago. It was 2011 and 12, when there was another huge movement, which was very soon ended by the authorities. And I was amazed by the huge number of very young people on the streets. And it was clearly a new generation of young activists. They weren't even activists, they were just young Russians who were, some of them were at school. I mean, they were 15 years old, 16 years old. And
right, they were very young. They were teenagers. I called them kids earlier, but they are actually kids. Like, and the ages of your characters are, I think, 17, 18, 19, 20. Just remarkable.
Yes. Some of them, a few of them were like 17, 18 when I filmed them. Milena, the main character, she was a bit older. She was maybe 23 at that time. But they were very young, and it was something new. And of course, I wasn't the only one to notice that. I mean, all the journalists then wrote about that in world media, because it was something extraordinary.
Mm-hmm.
So I met them at one of multiple Navalny's trial.
Mm-hmm.
I went there as a freelance camera person, and I met Nikolai, the young boy, then because he was he is in politics since he was 13 years old, I think. He went to his first meetings, his first protest actions when he was very, very young, a schoolboy actually. And he's still now in opposition politics, and he's maybe one of the only young people I met who today are still in politics. Actually.
Amazing. Yeah, amazing. And then you were able to spend a good amount of time with them during the course of this.
Yes, I met them quite regularly, once a week or once in 2 weeks, all through 1 year, or even more than 1 year. It was quite long, because I was lucky enough. In one hand, I didn't have any deadline because it was totally. It was an independent project. We didn't have any deadline. I was working with Maria Ibrahimova, who is the producer of the film, and we were working remotely because she wasn't in Russia at that time. So we were together, just the two of us, talking every day about the next action, about what I should film, where I should go, or I shouldn't maybe, because we didn't know what could happen. But it was very, very exciting. It was a very exciting period, actually.
And risky for you to be doing this work too.
I didn't have I didn't have problems to film at that time, because maybe because it was before a big election, so the police was quite polite. They very often, of course, they checked the IDs of the activists, and mine too, because I was there with my camera. So they were asking what I was doing here and telling me that I can't film, but actually I could film, because there is no law saying that I couldn't film.
And yet some of the time you were shooting, people were actually detained and brought in for questioning for periods of time. So there was some risk anyway to the activists for doing the work that they were doing that you captured in the film.
Yes, of course. Especially when they were when they participated to protests. It was quite risky for them because nobody knew how long they would stay in jail if they were detained, what could happen. And in Russia, any protest is forbidden, actually.
Right, right.
You can, 3 years ago, you could stay in a solitary protest. They called that, the authorities called that solitary picketing. You are alone with a poster and you stay alone, and the other activists can't stay next to you. They have to respect 50 meters of this distance between you and them and another person. If there is someone else next to you, they arrest the two people.
You show that so nicely in the film, to watch people as they just walk up to a door and open up a little tiny poster that you know, calls out the corruption, and just the picture, the image of, you know, these really idealistic and irrepressible young Russians taking that on themselves in those solitary pickets was really marvelous to see how they're able to try and manage to still get their voices out, even given the legal constrictions. That's one of the really joyous parts, I think, about your film, is just knowing that people will find a way.
Yeah, and actually it was also amazing to understand how organized they were, because it was something very new for most of them. Before March 2017, most of them never participated to any protest, never stood in a solitary picketing, and they very quickly they learned the law. They learned what they can do and what they can't. They learned what they should answer the police when the police told them you can't stay here, and they were very well organized using the internet as well. And this was something new as well, because the protest wasn't only outside where it was more dangerous, but it was also a lot on the internet. All these pickets, they took a photo each time, and the photo is the only way for them to be seen by a lot of people, by many more people than on the street, actually. So they organized flash mobs and different events online using this solitary picketing. And it was a very clever way to protest and to be seen by as much people as possible at that time.
That is really it's so important to know about it. And as I already said, you know, it reminded me of ACT UP. I don't know if you know the history of ACT UP and early AIDS activism, but it also reminded me of like the early Black Lives Matter movement. And I realize, I'm looking in the mirror, I realize I'm wearing my Black Lives Matter shirt today. There's a trial going on in this country about a racist murder that's going on this week, and we've all been thinking about it and reading about. But it's so important, I think, to know that these movements are connected in not just in energy, but in ideology, and united by the idea that a better future is possible. And I think that's really what you've captured in your film, is to let us know that people are feeling that on a real, on the streets, at that level in Russia. And that's an incredible contribution.
Thank you.
I think it's going to speak to everybody, the film, in a way. Just, these movements feed one another in really important ways. And, I think you may know, but I was, at the same time you were filming, I was in Russia filming another movement, but one that was not out on the streets. And in some way, when I was making Welcome to Chechnya, I think that the work of the Navalny activists was helping to draw attention away from the work of the activists who are responding to the crisis in Chechnya, and allowed them to get their work done maybe a little more safely, or certainly with a little less scrutiny by the police and other authorities. So I think it's part of a continuum of work that's being done in Russia and across the globe, I think, by young generations, new generations, people who are just not willing to accept authoritarianism without speaking out against it.
Yes, but unfortunately, and that's the sad part of the film. I mean, of this history. Now, all what these young people did 3 years ago, now it's impossible, and most of them left Russia.
Oh man!
Or they totally stopped being activists, or even posting something on the internet is dangerous now. Mm-hmm. Because you might know, you probably know that Navalny now is considered as an extremist. So all the people who were linked to his organizations, they can be considered as extremists too. It started in last June actually. So the situation is very bad now, and all these efforts, all what this new generation started 3 years ago, for the moment it's over. They just can't go on.
Well, it's over as a visible movement, I'm sure. But once you awaken that spirit in a person and in a community of people, you really cannot, you can't, forget that. It's always there. And your film shares that and makes sure that everybody knows about it. And I hope you will get some way to get the film out in Russia. Have you been able to show the film there?
Yes, but it was about 1 year ago, and it was another version of the film, and now I'm not sure it would be possible too. I don't know, because the festival where I showed the film, it's called Art Dog Fest. Mm-hmm. It's a famous and important festival in Russia.
I know, yeah.
But they have problems with the provocators and with the authorities each time they do the festival. And some films can't be even, they are obliged to cancel the screening of some films and to show them only online, because of all these problems. So I'm not sure it would be possible to screen it in Russia now.
Well, I'm glad you're bringing it to New York. That's very exciting. And I'm glad that you're coming to bring the film to audiences here, and part of its journey of this film around the globe. Are you coming with anybody from the film?
No, unfortunately, no. But I told, of course, I told the activists that I will be in New York, and some of them saw the film in Moscow, and and they liked it, and it was very important for me that they didn't think that I I lied, or maybe I showed there something wrong. They were happy with that, and so it was the most important for me.
Oh, wonderful. Well, Sasha, thank you for this film. Thank you for the work that you do. Thank you for bringing this story and this spirit out to the world. We owe you for this, and I hope the film has a wonderful life, and I hope you have a safe trip to the city. And maybe I'll see you when you're here.
Thank you so much, David. Thank you, and I'm really honored once again that you like the film.
Oh, wonderful. Well, everybody's going to love this film.
Thank you.